What's up? Coming up on today's episode of the Silver and Black Lair LA Kings edition, I'll be talking games 3, 4, and 5, Kings eliminated, and a look into the future. So stay tuned, and I'll be back in 45 seconds. What's going on there, Silver and Black Nation? Welcome to the Silver and Black Lair LA Kings edition. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. I got a bit to cover here. Games 3, 4, and 5, and also Kings eliminated last night. As you know, or may not know, maybe I'm the bearer of bad news or good news. If you don't like the Kings, you're just checking out the show. Just check out the show and watch me cry. I will not cry. So let's kick it off here. I'm going to kick it off all the way back to Game 3. Like I said, it's a weekly show, so I'll kick it back, even though we already know the outcome. It's like watching a movie, knowing the ending before you start watching it, but it is what it is. So looking back at Game 3, if you remember last week, if you checked the show out last week, I appreciate it. But last week I talked about how the Kings came off a big emotional win there in Game 2 out in Edmonton with an overtime win. 5-4. So it's I said last week, hopefully you can carry it over to LA, bring that momentum, that emotion with. Looking back at Game 2, the Kings jumped out early. Oilers came charging back, tied it up. Kings went ahead. Oilers tied it up. So it was back and forth, a really good game. But like I said, the Kings grabbed the momentum. They scored that overtime victory, and carried that 1-1, 1-1 series tied into LA. Home ice, are the best team on the home ice. Very good at home. Whereas before the All-Star break, not so much. They're more of a road team than they were a home team. So going into Game 3, had a lot of optimism, felt good about where we were at, with the series split in Edmonton. It didn't go so well. And that's, stating, that's an understatement. So looking ahead here, looking back, the Kings lose Game 3, 6-1, giving the Oilers a 2-1 series lead. And it was just so demoralizing to come out the way they did after that huge emotional game in Game 2. First period, Zach Hyman scored again. His fifth of the playoffs at that point. Ekholm scored, was the assist, his first assist. Draisaitl scored also in the first period as his second of the series, assisted by Evander Kane and Darnell Nurse. Then, of course, Connor McDavid scored on, of course, the power play, which is a bugaboo here, assisted by Bouchard and Draisaitl. That was the first goal by McDavid in the series at that point. So after 3-0, could not have gone any worse. Could not have started any worse. Coming out like that after an emotional win, just getting our ball slapped by the Oilers. And so we move ahead to period 2. Drew Doughty gets us on the board. It's a beautiful pass. First off, is great forecheck by Alex Laferriere. I thought he had a great series. I really did. Didn't really show up in the stat book, but I thought he flew around. I thought he finished checks off. I did some good things with the forecheck and the back check. Also had some decent looks and some decent shots. For a rookie, I thought he played well. I thought he played very well. But anyway, Drew Doughty scores. Like I said, the forecheck by Laferriere, keeping the puck in the O zone, and then the Kings were able to get a couple of really nice cross ice passes going, which they haven't been able to do really the whole series. And finally Byfield over to Doughty, wide open net, and Doughty puts it away. Doughty putting a little bit of pressure on from his defensive position was good to see. So Doughty, that's the second of the series, assisted by Quentin Byfield, his fourth assist of the series, and Mikey Anderson, his second assist of the season, of the series. Kings 3-1. All right, within two, that's striking distance. Then the Oilers come back and plug it to us again, lengthen that lead back to 3. Evander Kane gets his first of the series, assisted by Cece and Nugent Hopkins. Both of them, that was their first assist of the series. After 2, 4-1, really, barely keeping our nose above water. And we get to the third period, it just got worse from there. To rub a little bit of salt in the wounds, they get a couple power play goals. That hurts. Zach Hyman again scores a power play goal, assisted by Connor McDavid and Nugent Hopkins. And then Draisaitl, good old Leon there, douchebag Draisaitl, scores a power play goal, his third goal of the series, assisted by Connor McDavid and Nugent Hopkins. It's like a repeat there. That made it 6-1, and that was your final. Not even close, 6-1. The game wasn't even that close. The Oilers were all over the Kings, up and down the ice. The Kings looked old, tired. I mean, they are one of the older teams. I guess more in the middle. I think their average age is like 28.25, 28, 29, something like that. And, I think they're ranked 14th in the league, for roster age. We looked old. We looked slow. It wasn't good at all. Cam Talbot in the game stopped 34 out of 40 shots, an .850 save percentage. He's just struggled. I mean, you can't blame Cam Talbot totally. There were some soft goals throughout this whole series. But, I mean, a lot of things just, the constant pressure by Edmonton. Kings unable to get the puck out of their zone, out of the defensive zone, and, create, sustained pressure in the O zone either. We couldn't do it. So, with that, I got something in my eye. With that being said, it was just tough sledding as a goalie, no doubt. So looking back at some stats, shots went to Edmonton 40-28. Hits went to LA 36-23. And faceoffs went to Edmonton 31-30. Power play, the Kings were 0 for 5. That's a reoccurring theme in this series, as I'll get to later on. The Oilers were 3 for 7. That's a reoccurring theme, one that I'll get to later on. Block shots also went to Edmonton 18-11. Really tough game 3. Like I said, especially after that huge overtime win in Edmonton to split that series, to split the games in Edmonton, I thought it was huge. We had the momentum, and to come and lay a goose egg in front of your home fans the way we did, inexcusable and very demoralizing, very demoralizing. So you have to wonder, heading into game 4, were the Kings able to get themselves up, to pick themselves up off the floor and show up, at least try to make a series out of it, make a game out of it, at the very least, take baby steps here. I got a comment before I move on. And Eileen's checking in. What's going on, Eileen? Says, woo, it's the Bat Fry. Yes, it is. I missed yesterday's The Bat Cave. Kind of nodded off a little bit. That's one of the crappy things about working night shift and doing this at 10 a.m. is, got a little bit tired. I sat down and like that, I was out. So it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Thank you for checking the show out, Eileen. I will get the Bat Cave on. Just when, not sure. Hopefully maybe sometime tomorrow. I do work the weekend, so. But anyway, back to the situation at hand. So we go into game 4, getting our pecker smacked by the Oilers, and how do the Kings respond? You hope they come out and they're able to pull a win out. You hope they come out, they look aggressive, they look fast, they look hungry, and they did all that. They did all that except the win part. They looked fast. They were aggressive. They were the better team on the ice in game 4. Absolutely 150%, without a shadow of a doubt, were the best team in game 4. But the scoreboard does not lie, as the Kings fall in game 4 and put their season on the brink, 1-0. That put the series at 3-1 at that point. And is a total reversal from game 3 to game 4. The Kings, they just looked younger. They looked faster. They looked hungrier than the Oilers did. Even Connor McDavid. said as much in the post game interview. The Kings were the better team, but again, they pull it out of their ass, and that's it. That's. I mean, it's a score. It goes by the scoreboard. It doesn't go by who looks better, who was the better team. It goes by the scoreboard, unfortunately, and that went to the Oilers. So, like I said, 1-0. The only goal coming in the second period by Evan Bouchard, his first of the series. And guess what? It was a power play goal. Power play, special teams doing special things on both sides. Special for the Oilers in a good way. Special for the Raiders, or for the Kings. They were playing like the Raiders defense from past seasons, not last season, but past seasons. But special teams for the Kings doing special things in a very, very, very bad way this whole series. David Rich, he got to start, which was, you had to do it. You had to change it up in that, 100% agree with it. He only faced 13 shots. He stopped 12 of them. Again, the power play, I don't know. I at a loss for words with it. And it wasn't an easy goal. It wasn't an easy shot to stop. It was a good goal by the Oilers, moving the puck around. It is what it is. Shots went to LA 33-13. Hits went to LA 44-27. Faceoffs went to the Oilers 26-22. Power play, the Kings 0 for 1. So they're able to stay out of the penalty box. Only one time the Kings go in the penalty box and the Oilers score on it. They were 1 for 1. And the Kings, like I said, 0 for 1 in the power play. The Oilers stayed out of the penalty box as well. But again, the 0 for a reoccurring theme for the Kings in this playoffs. Block shots went to the Oilers, 19-17 as well. Not good at all. Not good at all for the Kings. That's the game they absolutely 100% needed to tie that series back up and put the pressure on Edmonton at home. And they earned it. That was a victory for the Oilers that they absolutely earned. They took the best shot the Kings had in Game 4. The Kings were absolutely the aggressor. Finishing checks. The Kings looked very, very hungry in Game 4. They looked really good. That was probably the best I've seen the Kings play in a long time, very long time. It's been quite a few weeks, and that was easily the best the Kings have looked. If you would have said the score's 1-0, who wins that game, you'd probably come back and say the Kings are a better defensive team than the Oilers, and the Kings want to be in low-scoring games against the Oilers, and they got that low-scoring game, and it still went against them. Just not much to say about Game 4. It was a missed opportunity. And the thing is, they had so many different chances in Game 4 to tie the game or to go ahead in the game, whether it was open nets or just plain old missed shots off the post. Beautiful saves by Skinner. You got to give Stuart Skinner credit. We, as Kings fans, we're looking at it saying the one weak spot that we can expose on the Oilers was Stuart Skinner. And you look back-to-back games, 1 goal given up in Game 3 and 0. First playoff shutout for Stuart Skinner in Game 4. All the credit to him. But the Kings, they had their chances, they had their opportunities, and they didn't capitalize. Much like the Oilers do, the Oilers were able to capitalize on all their opportunities, whether they're few or not. So Kings lose Game 4, 1-0. That puts the series at 3-1. They go into last night's game, an elimination game in Edmonton. It was stacked against them. And, as a Kings fan, you probably could not have felt positive about the game. I know I wasn't feeling very positive about the game. At that point, when it's an elimination game, you're down 3-1. You have to look at it one game at a time, not series. You can't look at it the series. You got to win one game at a time and keep pushing forward. And that's how you have to look at it. And it didn't really matter much. The Oilers were the better team in this series. Again, I got a comment from our boy, Paul Spencer. What's up, Paul? He says, "What's up, Kenny? You were right about Edmonton. Kings struggle with them matchup-wise. And it all comes down to the special teams. All comes down to power play. The Kings penalty kill, second best in the league all year. First, for most of the year, they were number 1. But going up against the Oilers, the number 2 power play in the league, no chance. Last year, the Oilers was like 40%, 45% against the Kings on the power play. And it was like that again this season. After that series last year, the Kings lost in 6 games. We spent the whole offseason working on our penalty kill for that reason. and we get to the same damn point and get the same damn result. Same result as last year in fewer games. So Paul says they were so physical in the first period, checking everyone that had stopped heading into the second. Momentum swing. Absolutely. In game 5 here, elimination game. I watched it after we got home from our concert last night. We went to see Godsmack at the Hershey Theater. Great show. It was a stripped down show on their Vibe store. We didn't have a huge elaborate stage or anything like that, but it was a great show. I recommend it. Actually, Paul, they'll be out in your area in Johnstown. So it was a lot of fun. It was different sitting in a theater to see a show I'd never done before. Everybody was sitting down basically. It was kind of weird. Finally, by the end, the wife, she got up and she said, "The hell with it, I'm standing," because she wanted to stand the whole night. And she's actually able to get some other people to stand up there in the upper balcony. And then I said, "The hell with it, my butt hurts. I'm going to stand as well." But anyway, yeah, the Kings started off hot. Game 5 with the checking. And it's something I said, I think after game 4, I think I actually was probably in our group chat for Out of the Box Sports. I think I said it's going to be hard for them to keep that going from game 4 to game 5. Well, the way they played game 4, if they would have played that way in game 5, I feel like they would have came out with a win. But it's hard for them to play the way they did in game 4. That's not their style. It's absolutely not their style. It's the style they had to play against Edmonton, but that's not how the Kings are built. The Kings aren't built to just bang and go fast. They're more a defense, puck control, slow the other team down in the neutral zone, kind of with 1-3-1. They're not really a overly physical team that's looking for all the rush chances. They're more of a control type offense and a defense where they're looking to slow you down before you hit that blue line around the red line, in the neutral zone. That's why it's a 1-3-1. Your 3 are in the neutral zone to slow down any type of rush coming from the opposing team, which the Oilers exposed over and over and over again with their skill and speed. The Oilers are the better team. Top to bottom, I don't think so, but top 6, definitely. It showed. Eileen, I agree with you. Boo Oilers. Not Boo Earns. Boo Oilers. That's a little inside Simpsons joke. If you know the Simpsons, you know what I'm talking about. So looking at game 5, Kings fall 4-3. They lose the series 4-1, and it's a bummer. Going into the series, going into the last week of the season, it wasn't decided who the Kings were going to play until the final game of the season. When they were able to get that win against who would they play last game? Was it the Ducks? No, it wasn't the Ducks. It doesn't matter who it was. I don't remember who. It doesn't matter who it was. It was overtime. But anyway, so it wasn't decided until that last game. The Kings went to overtime. They got that 1 point that sealed the 3 spot for them in the Pacific. And a lot of Kings and some of the other podcast hosts said that that's the matchup we want. We'd rather play Edmonton than Dallas. And if you look back during the regular season, the Kings played well against Edmonton. I believe we earned a series split 2-2. I think so. I could be wrong with that. I have to go back and check. But looking in the second half of the season, the first game we played against the Oilers after the All-Star break, we ended up beating them 4-0. We shut out the Edmonton Oilers. Later on in the second half of the season, I believe we lost to them. I don't remember the score, though. So, we'd rather play them than the Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars absolutely throttled us this season. We lost every game we played against them. And I don't think there were any close games. If I remember correctly, the Dallas Stars were just head and toes and feet and knuckles above us. Talent-wise, scheme-wise, out-coached, everything. So we wanted the Oilers. And also to kind of exercise those demons from the past 2 seasons. We lose in 7 games 2 years ago. Last year, 6 games. We're looking to kind of exercise those demons and create some misery for the Oilers. But unfortunately, we take another step back and get eliminated in game 5. That's how you have to look at it. It's another step back. We went from game 7, Step back to game 6 last year, step back to game 5 this year, and I'll talk about their future coming up here after I recap this game. And like Paul said, the Kings came out hot. They came out checking, body to body, finishing checks. They looked good the whole first period. Unfortunately, the Oilers jumped out early. Evander Kane with his second goal of the season, assisted by Kulak and Nugent Hopkins. Lair is able to respond. Finally, Lair gets a goal. It's a bit of a lucky bounce off the boards behind the net. But either way, a goal's a goal. That's what happens. Part of the game. You get Skinner pretty far out of the net, looking to play the carom. Doesn't happen. It goes behind him, and he's able not to get in the net. He's not able to get back to the net in time to stop the shot, the wide open shot by Lair. And again, like I said, I thought Lair had a really good series for a rookie. I thought he looked good. Did make some mistakes, but overall, he looked fast. He was aggressive, finishing checks, good forecheck, good back check at times, and a ton of shots. I felt like he had a lot of shots. Some made it through, some didn't make it through, but that's continued pressure to keep throwing that puck at the net and, hope for those rebounds, those second chance opportunities. So Lair is able to get that open net goal, his first of the series, his first of his career as a rookie, assisted by Vladislav Gavrikov and Matt Roy. That tied it up after 1-1. We head into the second period. Blake Lizotte puts us ahead, and Kings play well ahead. Puts us ahead 2-1 with his first goal of the series, and that was assisted by Victor Arvidsson and Andreas Englund. Kings are feeling good about themselves, but then the Oilers picked up the pace a little bit and just couldn't keep up again. Kings find themselves in the box, and we have douchebag Draisaitl scoring his 4th of the series. Another power play goal assisted by who else but Connor McDavid and Bouchard. We move on. That made it 2-1. Then douchebag Draisaitl scores again. Oh, I hate that guy so much. His 5th of the series, assisted by, you guessed it, Connor McDavid and Evan Bouchard. They move the puck so well. They move the puck so well. It's hard to stop that top line. Then Zach Hyman scores, makes it 4-1. Makes it 4-2. I'm sorry, makes it 4-2. And that's his 7th of the series, assisted by Nugent Hopkins, and of course, why not, Evan Bouchard. So we move to the third period, feeling really down in the dumps, 4-3. Third period, it's, play with your hair on fire. The Kings are doing everything they can to get pucks towards the net. And, again, give Stuart Skinner some credit. The Oilers defense, they're able to fight the Kings back for the most part. We score late with, I think, 2 minutes to go, 2.5 minutes, somewhere around there. Kempe scores with the extra attacker. We pulled the goalie at that point, his 4th of the series, assisted by Matt Roy and Kevin Fiala. And that finishes it up. That makes it 4-3. Oilers, they move on to the next round. And they'll play the winner, I believe, of Vancouver and Nashville, which I think Vancouver leads that series 3-2 right now. Probably going to be Vancouver. So in this game, Rittich got to start again between the pipes, stopped 22 out of 26. Needs to be better. Shots went to Edmonton, 26-21. Hits went to LA, 57-27. Numbers seem so inflated with these hits compared to the regular season. I don't get it. I don't know if they're legit or not, but every game, I don't think the Kings had more than 25 hits, but once or twice throughout the whole regular season. And every game this series, it's been, 40s and 50s, and above. It's crazy. Face-offs went to LA, 34-24. They did do very good in the face-off circle. Power play, again, Kings are 0-1. They finished the series 0-12 on the power play. The only team in the playoffs not to score a damn power play goal. And the Oilers were 1-5 on their power play. The best the Kings have looked on the penalty kill, but unfortunately, it's a little too late. Last game of the series, elimination game, and the Oilers end up going 9-20. 9-20 on the power play against the second best penalty kill team in the league. Can you say exposed? Block shots went to Edmonton as well, 22-12. That's the one thing that the Kings just couldn't do. They just couldn't get the pucks through. Taking too many deep shots, shots too far out. They need to work more guys towards the net. Look for those rebounds. Again, give Stuart Skinner credit. He held on to a lot of those pucks and allow a lot of rebounds. So I got a couple comments. Speaking of physical, Paul Spencer says UFC is back on Out of the Box Sports on the 27th of May inside the Octagon with Paul and Josh. Mondays at 8:30. For all you UFC fans, you're going to want to check it out. We used to have a UFC show here on the Out of the Box Sports many moons ago. Kind of went away, but now it's back. And Paul will be hosting with Josh. Like I said, Mondays at 8:30. Check that out, all you combat sports fans. And also, Paul says Edmonton's first line is like watching a clinic, precise passing and movement. Yeah, and it all starts with Connor McDavid, but it doesn't hurt to have douchebag Draisaitl there, Zach Hyman, any of those guys, especially when they're on the power. When they're on the power play, it's like the first line's like watching a clinic, but watching that first line power play with Connor McDavid as your quarterback is unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable the way they move that puck. It's just it's otherworldly. It really is. I thought it was good last year. It looked even better this year. And I picked the Oilers last year after they eliminated the Kings. I picked the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup. I'm going to do it again this year. I hate the Oilers, but I respect the Oilers. I hate Draisaitl. I'm not going to say I respect Draisaitl, but I respect McDavid. I really do. And so I'm going to pick the Oilers to win the Cup again. I think this year's their year. Yeah, McDavid has to get a cup, and you have to figure Canada sooner or later they got to win the cup back, and so they stop crying and bitching up north, and make them feel all good again, make them feel part of the program. It's been a while since the Canadian team won. I think I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. Thinking back at it, but I think the last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup might have been the Montreal Canadiens in '93, but I could be wrong with that. I could be wrong. And that was against the LA Kings. They swept them 4 games, or was it 4-1? I think it's 4 games. Yeah, it's 4 games to 1. We lost to the Canadiens in the Stanley Cup that year. And that was the Kings led by Wayne Gretzky, Yari Curry, Luc Robitaille, Rob Blake, Kelly Rudy between the pipes. A lot of great players on that Kings team. That was a great season. Marty McSorley, our enforcer. And I think that was the year that we had the Marty McSorley fight against Wendell Clark. I think it was Marty McSorley, Wendell Clark fight, one of the greatest fights in hockey history. Go back and check that out. That was the Kings and the Maple Leafs back when they were in the same conference. Before they jumbled it all up. Back when you had like the Norris division and all that good stuff. So yeah. But yeah, so looking at that series overall, Kings lose 4-1, and it comes down to special teams. And like I said, they have that YouTuber or TikToker sketch. I think his name is Sketchy Sketch or something. I don't know. I think he says something like special teams, special players, making special plays. That was the Edmonton Oilers. And you can say the same about the Kings, but in a very derogatory type way when you say special teams, special players making special plays in a very derogative type way. If you catch my drift, wink, wink. So it's such a bummer. Feeling so good about the penalty kill coming into this, to have it going the way it went. And we knew our goaltending the whole season. Before the season started, our goaltending we thought was our weak point. Trade deadline, there's rumors that the Kings were looking to try to trade for Connor Hellebuck. It didn't happen. The rumors were said to be false, said to be true. It doesn't matter. He's not there. Stuck with the goaltending that we had. They played well enough to get us where we were. Our only all-star was our goaltender, Cam Talbot. So say what you will about the goaltending. Us being labeled as a very good defensive team, then going against the Oilers and looking like that makes you wonder about our defensive strategy. So looking forward here, moving on from this debauchery that was the playoffs for the Kings. What's next for the Kings? Looking ahead at some free agents here, some unrestricted, some restricted free agents. So we'll go through that real quick. Some young players who I think we should see up next season, and who I think will move on from or who won't re-sign with the Kings. So we'll start off first with the GM, Rob Blake. Does Rob Blake keep his job? You look at the team. This is the team that he constructed. Pierre Dubois is the big sticking point for this, with his lack of any kind of I don't want to say effort. Effort's not the right word. His lack of productivity. There it is. That's the word I'm looking for. With any he has a huge lack of productivity this year. Expecting huge things from Pierre Dubois, and you hear a lot of people say, not all of it was his fault. A lot of it has to do with the line pairings and stuff like that. Well, you know what? Great players elevate lines, and he was on a line. He didn't elevate it. He was put on so many. He had so many different combinations with him this season to try to get him going. Did not happen. Did not have the season that we were looking for out of him. So you have to look. What are we going to do with Pierre Dubois moving forward? I don't know I can't remember what the deadline is, but there's a deadline where if we trade him before that deadline or release him, the Kings save a ton of money. But I doubt that we can trade Pierre Dubois just because of the contract that he has. It's a very rich contract for a guy that didn't produce this year. And so what does that mean? That means Rob Blake is the one that traded for this guy, gave up a pretty decent haul for him to get nothing back. Gabe Vilardi, I was a huge fan of, gone to the Winnipeg Jets, who also eliminated in the first round again. Same boat as the Kings, the Jets are. Gabe Vilardi to the Jets. Alex Iafallo to the Jets. Two guys I really liked. Who else went there? There was two other players that went to the Kings, but those were the two big ones. Gabe Vilardi and Alex Iafallo. And I do believe point-wise, productivity-wise on the sheets, Pierre Dubois was outproduced by Gabe Vilardi. I'm not sure about Iafallo, though. I feel like Iafallo outproduced him, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go back and check the stats on that. So we got nothing out of Pierre Dubois. Nothing, except a lot of headaches, a lot of distraction all season about who's producing, who's not producing. Big contract. Blake should be fired. Blake should not be fired. It's not Pierre Dubois' fault. It is Dubois' fault. All that and the other. So does Rob Blake keep his job? Probably not. I say probably because you just never know. Like hockey is such a different sport compared to the other sports. Whether baseball, football, or even to a lesser extent basketball. Baseball or football, you can kind of you know when the GM's going to get fired. Like everybody knows before the GM knows. You just tell the quarterback that you drafted, was crap. Your last two draft classes were crap. You're fired. That's it. For hockey, you don't hear a lot about the owners. I don't even know who the Kings owner is. It's an ownership group. I don't know who the main guy. I have no idea. So I do know that the president is Luc Robitaille. So I don't know if it's his decision or is his job in jeopardy. I have no idea. But Rob Blake, Luc Robitaille, teammates back in the old Kings days. Does that help Blake a little bit? Does that buy Blake another year? I know the mantra going into this year is, get past the first round, which as silly as it sounds, you want to win the Stanley Cup, but it's been such a sticking point the last two seasons that you have to take baby steps towards it. And falling short of that goal, does that cost Blake his job? I think it does, but we'll see what happens. So I think we'll be looking for a new GM possibly. Like I said, again, possibly there's still a chance I think he does hold his job. A small chance. If I had to put a percentage to it, I'd say like 70-30. 70% he loses it, 30% he keeps it. So that moves on to interim head coach Jim Hiller. What happens with him? So if Blake stays general manager, does he get a serious look at becoming the new head coach? We fired Todd McClellan back before the All-Star break, or at the All-Star break, and we named the interim coach was the assistant Jim Hiller. Did a decent job. The Kings were down the dumps all January into early February before the All-Star break. He brought them out of it. Made a couple moves on some different lines, and the one thing I'll give Jim Hiller all the credit for was his willingness to change things up. That's one thing McClellan wouldn't do. He wasn't into experimenting. He wasn't into line changing, like changing line combinations, or anything. He wasn't into that. Hiller was going from the 12-6 to 11-7, meaning adding an extra defenseman and getting your playmakers on the ice for more minutes, which McClellan again didn't. He didn't really do that a whole lot, if at all, to be honest with you. And so credit to Hiller on that, and also credit to Jim Hiller early on after the All-Star break in kind of sitting Cam Talbot. Cam Talbot really struggled through January, really poorly. I mean, like, he was named the Kings' lone All-Star. Every team has an All-Star representative. He was the Kings' lone All-Star, and when he was named that, he was playing outstanding. He was one of the top 2 or 3 goaltenders in the league. But after that, boy, did that dude spiral down. He went down hard, and it just continued and continued. So he went to David Rittich. And, McClellan did that as well a little bit, but not as often as he probably should have, trying to help Cam Talbot break out of whatever slump that he was in. So we started off the second half of the season seeing more David Rittich than Cam Talbot. Then when Jim Hiller felt the timing was right, flipped it back, went back to Cam Talbot as your starting goalie, as your number 1 goalie, and Rittich back as the backup, and it worked out well. Cam Talbot played much, much better. I was playing almost as well as he was beginning of the season, putting him back in the top 10 goaltenders for the season. And Rittich, when he did get opportunity, played very, very well. So give Jim Hiller credit there. But with him being an interim coach, I don't think he keeps his job, even if Blake is still the GM or not. If he's not the GM, definitely Hiller will not be back as your head coach. And if he does retain, I think it's like a 50-50 chance, maybe less, maybe like 60-40 that Hiller will be named the head coach. I just think they need a total different set of eyes behind the bench there. Does that mean going away from the 1-3-1? I'm not sure. If they go away from the 1-3-1, they need more playmakers on the team. If they stick with the 1-3-1, you can kind of bog it down with the guys that you have and bringing up some young guys. There's not a whole lot of cap space, but we'll see what happens in this offseason with our free agents. And speaking of which, we will be talking about right now. Our unrestricted free agents coming into the offseason, we're looking at some pretty big ones here. Matt Roy is a huge one. That's one thing that the Kings talked about before the trade deadline. Do you or do you not trade Matt Roy, one of your top defensemen, one of the better defensemen in the league? Not an offensive type defenseman, but a very good defenseman nonetheless. What do? Do you trade him, try to get something out of it, or do you hold on to him and risk losing him in free agency? The Kings chose the latter. They kept him around, and they will risk in losing him in free agency. I'm not sure if they'll even try to sign him. We'll have to wait and see. So he's 29 years old. This past season, played in 81 games at 82, 5 goals, 20 assists, 25 points, a plus 21. Led the team in plus minus, I believe. Another free agent, unrestricted free agent, Victor Arvidsson. Arvidsson is one of those guys that really keeps the power play moving. A huge part of our power play. When he came back from being injured, our power play looked much, much better. From going, bottom half of the league in power play to closer to top half of the league in power play. I feel like a lot of that has to do with Victor Arvidsson being back. But then again, injury history with Victor Arvidsson. What do you do with him? I like Victor Arvidsson, but I think it might be time to move on from him. He's 31 years old, played in only 18 games due to injury. He had 6 goals, 9 assists, 15 points, plus 4 rating. Looking at our goalies, Cam Talbot, he's a free agent. He'll be 30. He is 36, 27, 20, and 6, 2.50 goals against, and a 913 save percentage. Very good season for him. But you look at that age, 36. I don't see Cam Talbot back. I be honest with you, I see the goalie room altogether just being totally different again, just like this season was. David Rittich, 31 years old. Again, up there in age, 13, 6, and 3, 216 goals against, and a 921 save percentage. Very good season for him as a backup goalie. And I don't think he'll be back, but if they bring any of the goalies back, I think it would be him because he is only 31 and he would serve as a decent backup goalie. Phoenix Copley was out early this season due to injury. Missed the whole season, basically, except for I think he played, 7 games. So he played in only 7 games. Came in this season as as our number 1 or number 2. I think he was our number 2 behind Cam Talbot. If you remember the season before, with the whole goalie debacle that we had between Cal Peterson and Jesus Christ, I can't think of his name now. Jonathan Quick, there it is. Between Quickie and Cal Peterson, just how bad it went, and the Kings halfway through the season, not even halfway through the season, about halfway through the season, dumped them both, traded for Jonas Korpisalo, and elevated Phoenix Copley. Copley really held the fort down until the Kings traded for Korpisalo, played very, very well, and he and Korpisalo played good down the stretch. Got the Kings in the playoffs last year, but when it came playoff time, Korpisalo did not look very good at all against, of course, the Edmonton Oilers and that special teams of theirs. So I don't think Copley's going to be back either. Trevor Lewis, I don't think he'll be back. He's 37 years old. He was on the Kings Stanley Cup winning teams. But he did play 82 games, 8 goals, 8 assists, 16 points, +7. Played well this season. He didn't play bad at all, but has taken a lot of ice time away from younger guys that can be in that position. So I don't think he'll be back. And another goalie, Aaron Dell. We didn't see him at all this season, 34 years old. I'm not sure what they'll do with him. So a lot of guys I think will be missing next season. So then we go to our restricted free agents. Restricted free agent is a free agent that can go and get an offer from another team, but the Kings can counter offer. The Kings have the opportunity to offer a contract to that player. And so our restricted free agents, a couple big ones there as well. Quentin Byfield, who the Kings must re-sign. That's their biggest goal this offseason, has to be re-signing Quentin Byfield to a long-term contract. 21 years old, 80 games, 20 goals, 35 assists, 55 points, a +19. This was his coming out party last season. Was kind of feeling it out. I know the fans were expecting a lot more, especially from that top line with Byfield last season. But this season he showed up. Did kind of get cold there at the end of the season. But you expect him to take the next step next season, right? So I expect the Kings to re-sign him to a long-term contract. Blake Lizotte, 26 years old. Sid played in 62 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points, +11. I really like Blake Lizotte's game. Very undersized, but he's like that gnat. He's just constantly around, buzzing in your face, bothering people. I think he does a great job. I'd be happy if the Kings were to re-sign him for that fourth line. Carl Grundstrom, 26 years old. Played in 50 games this year. He was hurt down the stretch this past season. Ended up missing 32 games. 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points, a -2. I like Grundstrom. I could see the Kings bringing him back. Arthur Kaliev, 22 years old, 51 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points, a -3. This one's a tough one because for the most part, the whole season, he was a healthy scratch. There was talk about possibly trading him at the trade deadline. Not sure what the deal was with Kaliev, why Todd McClellan wasn't playing, why Jim Hiller wasn't playing him. But for the most part, he was always a healthy scratch. He'd play occasionally when it was a 12-6 setup and somebody was either hurt, banged up, and they needed a day off. He would fill in then. Like I said, I'm not sure what the issue was with Kaliev, but if I'm him, I won't want to be back anyway. So I don't see the Kings offering him a contract. And again, it depends on who the coach is too, and the GM at that fact as well. But 22 years old, very young. Then we look at Jordan Spence, 23 years old, 71 games he played, 2 goals, 22 assists, 24 points, +5. I thought second half of the season he looked very, very good in defense. Did a great job. You see by the assist, 22 assists, he was able to to creep up and make some plays and get some guys open and create some offense. So I thought Spence looked very good this season. So those are our restricted free agents. Main point of emphasis here is Quentin Byfield. Everybody else after that is secondary. So also looking at some young guys who I think should be called up next season. I should start on the main roster next season, and be in the lineups. So a couple of those guys did play with us this season, so I'm just going to look at them. But Alex Turcotte, a 23-year-old, played 20 games for the Kings this year, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, +5. Samuel Foggymo, 24. He played in 4 games. He had no goals, no assists, no points, -1. Brant Clark, defenseman, very young defenseman, 21, played in 16 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points, and -6. And Akil Thomas, he played in 7 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points, and a plus-minus rating of 0. I think we should see all 4 of those guys up next season. And looking at our free agent list, you can kind of figure out where they're going to go. Then we have to look at the goaltending. Do we bring up a young goaltender? I know Portillo, I think he had a decent season for Quebec. The Ontario. I'm sorry, for the Ontario Reign. For the Ontario Reign, the Kings minor league affiliate, who are in the second round of the playoffs. Good for them. Keep moving on. So I like to see them moving on. I like to see Hershey moving on, so they play each other. So I can go to a game there in Hershey and see the Ontario Reign play. So those 4 guys I do expect up, and it's going to be definitely a different looking team next season than it is this season. I wouldn't expect, if that's the way it goes, you can't really set your bar too high, the expectations, but you can kind of see the Kings start moving towards the youth movement a little bit. So and then that's looking at Drew Doughty and Andrzej Kopitar, a couple guys been around for a long time. Andrzej's I think 36, I think Drew's 34 possibly. So you figure Drew has a couple years yet. Andrzej maybe has another year or 2 yet. I know on their contracts they do, but in the league wise, those aren't guys that you trade away or you release or anything like that either. It's not. I was still kind of bummed about the Jonathan Quick thing, but you kind of understood it. The Kings needed goaltending help, and it wasn't coming from him. As well as he played for the Rangers this year, he was not playing like that in LA. So I mean, you can say, well, look at him now. That's not how he was playing in LA. So yeah. So that's what I got in the Kings for today. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple sponsor reads here before I sign off of here. We got Jason Fine, J Fine Law. You can reach Jason Fine, attorney Big Al, at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and fall, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. The office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill, 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. Then in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the offices are located 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. For all your gourmet coffee needs, head on over to monkeycoldcoffee.com. They have bourbon chocolate chip infused coffee, toasted coconut rum. They have a Sumatran blend, medium roast coffee, an organic blend called Perula Florida, and their newest flavor, golden honey agave. They're also selling barrel-aged honey at monkeycoldcoffee.com. Be sure to check out their swag shop. They got t-shirts, coffee mugs, tumbler cups, cold brew pitcher set, K-cup adapters, and don't forget that sweet, sweet Paradise rum cake. All that at monkeycoldcoffee.com. And at checkout, use that promo code OOTB Sports for 10% off your order. That promo code, once more, is OOTB Sports for 10% off your order at monkeycoldcoffee.com. A couple reminders here. Like I said before, the 27th, May 27th, Inside the Octagon for your UFC talk with Paul and Josh. That'll be every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Super excited for UFC talk to be back. And this weekend, we'll have the Atomic Drop podcast. I will not be on. I have to work. So we'll figure something out. I'm sure the fellows will still be on. And tune in tomorrow morning as I talk Silver and Black Lair Raiders edition. We'll be talking NFL draft, what the Raiders got, and much, much more. All right. So that's all I have for today. Again, thank you everybody for checking the show out. Thanks to those that commented. For those watching right now, 31 live viewers, mostly on X. You can comment through X now. Double click that live feed. A comment section should pop up and throw your comments in. So next week, go ahead and throw your comments out. I will return next Thursday talking LA Kings with the Silver and Black Lair LA Kings edition. And I'll be grading out players' performances from this past season. And also, we'll talk a little Stanley Cup playoffs as to who's still alive and what's going on. All right. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., like I said, Silver and Black Lair, Raiders edition. And I'll be seeing you guys then. Thank you for checking the show out. And thank you for commenting. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Go Kings, go next year.